In our later years, the habits we practice every single day quietly shape the health of our brain. Dementia does not suddenly appear overnight. It develops slowly, often fueled by small, repeated behaviors that seem harmless at first. Among all damaging patterns, the worst habit that accelerates dementia is living on autopilot, a life with little mental engagement, poor routines, and neglect of the brain's daily needs. This one habit opens the door for several dangerous behaviors that slowly weaken memory, focus, and independence. Today, it is important to recognize and delete these habits before they steal the sharpness of the mind. The first daily habit that must be removed is prolonged mental inactivity. When the brain is not challenged, it begins to shrink and slow down. Many older adults fall into repetitive routines that require no thinking, watching television for hours, scrolling endlessly, or reliving the same memories without learning anything new. The brain thrives on stimulation. Without it, neural connections weaken, making forgetfulness and confusion more likely. Reading, learning a new skill, solving puzzles, or even having meaningful conversations can keep the brain alive and responsive. The second harmful habit is social isolation. Loneliness is not just an emotional issue, it is a serious risk factor for dementia. When people stop interacting regularly, the brain loses opportunities to process emotions, language, and empathy. Isolation increases stress hormones, which directly damage memory centers in the brain. Even short daily interactions, a phone call, a walk with a friend, or a shared laugh, help keep the mind connected and resilient. Staying socially active is one of the strongest protections against cognitive decline. The third habit that silently destroys brain health is chronic poor sleep. Many older adults accept broken sleep as normal, but ongoing sleep deprivation prevents the brain from clearing toxic waste that builds up during the day. These toxins are strongly linked to dementia. Sleeping too little or at irregular times confuses the brain's natural rhythm, leading to poor memory and slower thinking. Consistent deep sleep allows the brain to repair itself and store memories properly. The fourth daily habit to eliminate is physical inactivity. The brain depends on movement to stay healthy. Sitting for long hours reduces blood flow and oxygen to the brain, speeding up mental decline. Regular movement, even gentle walking, stretching, or light exercises, stimulates brain chemicals that protect memory and learning. Exercise also reduces inflammation and improves mood, both essential for long-term brain health. The fifth dangerous habit is a diet that lacks brain-supporting nutrients. Diets high in sugar, processed foods, and unhealthy fats increase inflammation and damage blood vessels in the brain. Over time, this reduces memory and focus. The brain needs nourishment from whole foods, healthy fats, fruits, vegetables, and proper hydration. What is eaten daily becomes the building material for the brain itself. The sixth habit that must be deleted is ignoring stress and emotional health. Chronic stress keeps the brain in survival mode, shrinking areas responsible for memory and reasoning. Many older adults carry unspoken worries, regrets, or fears that quietly exhaust the mind. Learning to relax, practice gratitude, breathe deeply, and find peace each day protects the brain from long-term damage. Dementia is not caused by age alone. It is strongly influenced by daily choices and repeated behaviors. By removing mental laziness, isolation, poor sleep, inactivity, unhealthy eating, and unmanaged stress, older adults can protect their minds and preserve clarity for years to come. The brain is powerful, but it must be cared for daily. What you choose to delete today can determine how clearly you think tomorrow. Mental inactivity and living on autopilot is one of the most dangerous habits for the aging brain, because it slowly shuts down the very systems that keep memory, reasoning, and awareness alive. As people grow older, life often becomes repetitive. The same routines, the same conversations, the same daily patterns repeat without challenge, while routine can feel comfortable. The brain interprets this lack of stimulation as a signal that less effort is needed over time. Neural connections weaken, processing speed slows, and memory becomes unreliable. This decline does not happen suddenly. It happens quietly, day by day. Through disuse, the human brain is designed to adapt, learn, and respond to new information at every age. When it is no longer challenged, it begins to conserve energy by reducing activity in areas responsible for learning and problem solving. This is why older adults who stop learning new things often experience faster cognitive decline. Watching television for hours, scrolling mindlessly on a phone, or replaying the same thoughts over and over keeps the brain passive rather than engaged. Passive activities do not require effort, decision-making, or creativity, and without these elements, the brain slowly loses flexibility. Living on autopilot also weakens attention and awareness. When days blur together without meaningful engagement, the brain stops forming strong memories. This leads to frequent forgetfulness, confusion about time, and difficulty concentrating. Over time, this state increases the risk of dementia because the brain is no longer practicing the skills it needs to stay sharp. Just like muscles weaken when they are not used, mental abilities fade when they are ignored. Mental inactivity also affects emotional health. A bored and unstimulated mind often turns inward, focusing on worries, regrets, or fears. This increases stress and anxiety, which further damages memory centers in the brain. In contrast, mentally active individuals tend to feel more confident, curious, and emotionally balanced. Learning something new creates a sense of purpose, which is vital for brain health in later life. Breaking free from autopilot does not require complex tasks or advanced education. Simple daily habits such as reading, writing, learning a new skill, solving puzzles, engaging in thoughtful conversations, or even changing routines can wake up the brain. Curiosity is one of the strongest protectors against cognitive decline. When the brain is challenged, it builds new connections and strengthens existing ones, creating resilience against dementia. Mental activity is not optional for healthy aging. It is essential. Every day the brain is stimulated is a day it is protected. Deleting mental inactivity from daily life is one of the most powerful steps an older adult can take to preserve clarity, independence, and dignity for years to come. Social isolation and loneliness are silent threats to the aging brain, often underestimated but deeply damaging over time. As people grow older, social circles naturally shrink due to retirement, health issues, loss of loved ones, or reduced mobility. What begins as occasional solitude can slowly turn into prolonged isolation, and the brain suffers quietly as a result. Human beings are wired for connection, and the brain depends on regular social interaction to stay mentally sharp, emotionally balanced, and cognitively active. When an older adult spends long periods alone with little meaningful interaction, the brain receives fewer opportunities to process language, emotions, and social cues. Conversations stimulate multiple areas of the brain at once, including memory, attention, reasoning, and emotional regulation. Without this stimulation, these brain regions become less active and gradually weaken. Over time, this can lead to slower thinking, forgetfulness, and increased confusion, all of which raise the risk of dementia. Loneliness also triggers chronic stress in the body. Even when a person appears calm on the outside, persistent feelings of isolation increase stress hormones such as cortisol. High cortisol levels damage the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. This damage accumulates slowly, making it harder to retain new information or recall familiar details. Many older adults do not realize that their memory problems are linked not to age alone, but to emotional isolation. Social isolation also affects mood and motivation. A lonely mind often becomes trapped in negative thought patterns, focusing on past regrets, fears, or feelings of worthlessness. Depression and anxiety are common outcomes, and both are strongly linked to cognitive decline. When motivation decreases, people stop engaging in activities that could protect their brain, creating a harmful cycle that accelerates mental deterioration. Regular social contact, even in small amounts, acts as powerful brain protection. A simple daily conversation, a phone call, shared laughter, or participation in a community activity keeps the mind engaged and alert. Social interaction encourages emotional expression, empathy, and adaptability, all of which strengthen neural connections. Feeling connected also gives life meaning and purpose, which is essential for healthy aging. Importantly, quality matters more than quantity. Meaningful interactions are far more beneficial than being surrounded by people without emotional connection. Genuine relationships stimulate the brain more deeply and provide emotional security that reduces stress and supports memory. Deleting social isolation does not mean being constantly busy or surrounded by crowds. It means choosing connection over withdrawal, presence over silence, and engagement over loneliness by staying socially connected. Older adults protect not only their emotional well-being, but also the long-term health of their brain. Poor sleep and irregular rest patterns are among the most damaging habits for the aging brain, yet many older adults underestimate their impact. Sleep is not merely a time of rest, it is an active repair process for the brain. During deep sleep, the brain clears out toxic waste products that build up during waking hours. These toxins, when allowed to accumulate over time, are strongly linked to memory loss and dementia. When sleep is short, fragmented, or inconsistent, this vital cleaning process is disrupted, leaving the brain vulnerable to long-term damage. As people age, sleep patterns often change. Many older adults wake up frequently at night, sleep fewer hours, or go to bed and wake up at irregular times. While this may seem like a normal part of aging, chronic poor sleep is not harmless. Lack of quality sleep weakens attention, slows thinking, and makes it harder to form and store new memories. Over time, the brain struggles to distinguish between day and night, leading to confusion, fatigue, and mental fog. Irregular sleep also disrupts the brain's internal clock. Known as the circadian rhythm, this rhythm controls hormone release, memory processing, and emotional balance. When sleep times vary widely from day to day, the brain becomes stressed and disoriented. This stress increases inflammation and raises cortisol levels, both of which harm areas of the brain responsible for learning and recall. Many older adults experiencing memory problems are unknowingly suffering from long-term sleep deprivation. Poor sleep also affects emotional health. A tired brain is more sensitive to stress, anxiety, and negative emotions. Small problems feel overwhelming, and patience becomes harder to maintain. This emotional strain further weakens cognitive function and increases the risk of depression, which itself is a known contributor to dementia. Over time, the combination of poor sleep and emotional imbalance accelerates mental decline. Another hidden danger of poor sleep is its effect on physical health, which directly impacts the brain. Inadequate rest raises the risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease, all of which reduce blood flow to the brain. Reduced blood flow means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reaching brain cells. causing them to weaken and die prematurely. Improving sleep does not require drastic changes. Consistent bedtimes, a calm evening routine, reduced screen use before bed, exposure to natural daylight, and gentle daytime activity can greatly improve sleep quality. Even small improvements in sleep can lead to noticeable gains in memory, focus, and mood. Quality sleep is not a luxury in old age, it is a necessity. Deleting poor sleep habits and restoring healthy rest patterns gives the brain the time it needs to heal, protect itself, and function clearly for years to come. Physical inactivity and a sedentary lifestyle quietly weaken the aging brain, even though their effects are often blamed on age itself. The brain depends heavily on movement to stay healthy, alert, and well-nourished. When an older adult spends most of the day sitting or lying down, blood flow to the brain decreases. This reduced circulation means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach brain cells, causing them to function poorly and age faster. Over time, this creates the perfect conditions for memory loss, slower thinking, and increased risk of dementia. Movement is one of the brain's most powerful stimulators. Every time the body moves, the heart pumps more blood, delivering oxygen-rich fuel to the brain. Physical activity also triggers the release of protective chemicals that support learning, memory, and mood. When movement is removed from daily life, these benefits disappear. Many older adults unknowingly enter long periods of inactivity due to fear of injury, joint pain, fatigue, or lack of motivation. While rest is important, too much rest slowly harms the brain. A sedentary lifestyle also increases inflammation throughout the body. Chronic inflammation damages blood vessels, including those that supply the brain. This damage interferes with communication between brain cells and accelerates cognitive decline. Inactivity is strongly linked to conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease, all of which directly increase the risk of dementia. These conditions restrict blood flow and slowly starve the brain of what it needs to stay sharp. Physical inactivity affects emotional health as well. When people move less, they often experience lower mood, anxiety, and loss of confidence. Depression is more common among sedentary older adults. And depression itself is closely associated with memory problems and reduced brain volume. A lack of movement can also disrupt sleep patterns, further compounding cognitive decline. The mind and body are deeply connected, and when the body becomes inactive, the mind follows. Importantly, physical activity does not mean intense exercise or exhausting routines. Even gentle movement has powerful effects on the brain. Walking, stretching, light household tasks, gardening, or simple balance exercises all stimulate the brain and nervous system. Consistency matters far more than intensity. Daily movement trains the brain to stay responsive, adaptable, and resilient. Another overlooked benefit of movement is independence. Staying physically active supports coordination, balance, and confidence, reducing fear and encouraging engagement with life. This engagement itself protects the brain by keeping it alert and involved in the present moment. Deleting physical inactivity from daily life is one of the most effective ways to protect brain health in older age. Movement keeps the brain nourished, reduces disease risk, stabilizes mood, and strengthens memory. A moving body supports a living, thinking, and resilient mind. Chronic stress and unhealthy daily choices place a constant burden on the aging brain, slowly wearing it down from the inside. While short-term stress is a normal part of life, long-term, unrelieved stress keeps the brain in a continuous state of alert. In this state, the body releases stress hormones such as cortisol every day. Over time, high cortisol levels damage Brain cells, especially in areas responsible for memory, learning, and decision-making. This damage accumulates quietly, increasing the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Many older adults live with ongoing stress without recognizing it. Worries about health, finances, family relationships, loneliness, or fear of the future can linger in the mind day and night when stress becomes a daily companion. The brain never fully relaxes or recovers. This constant tension shrinks the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, making it harder to remember names, dates, and recent events. What may seem like simple forgetfulness can actually be the result of long-term emotional strain. Unhealthy daily choices often develop alongside chronic stress. When the mind feels overwhelmed, people are more likely to neglect sleep, eat poorly, avoid physical activity, or withdraw socially. These choices may feel comforting in the short term, but are damaging in the long run. Poor nutrition deprives the brain of essential nutrients, inactivity reduces blood flow, and lack of rest prevents proper brain repair. Together, these habits create a cycle that accelerates mental decline. Chronic stress also affects emotional balance. A stressed brain is more prone to anxiety, irritability, and depression. These emotional states further weaken concentration and memory, making everyday tasks feel harder than they should. Over time, motivation fades, curiosity disappears, and the brain becomes less engaged with life. This emotional withdrawal increases the risk of isolation, which compounds cognitive decline even further. Another hidden danger of stress is inflammation. Long-term stress increases inflammation throughout the body, including the brain. Inflammation interferes with communication between brain cells and damages blood vessels that supply oxygen and nutrients. This makes the brain more vulnerable to age-related diseases and speeds up the progression toward dementia. Managing stress does not require eliminating all problems from life, which is impossible. It requires learning how to respond differently to challenges. Simple daily practices such as deep breathing, gratitude, prayer or meditation, spending time in nature, maintaining routines, and expressing emotions can significantly reduce stress levels. Making small, healthier choices each day sends a powerful signal to the brain that it is safe and supported. Deleting chronic stress and unhealthy habits is not about perfection. It is about choosing calm over constant worry, care over neglect, and balance over exhaustion. When stress is managed and daily choices improve, the brain regains strength, clarity, and resilience, protecting mental health well into old age.